If this story moves you, drop a heart in the comments. The morning sun cast long shadows across the sprawling property outside Missoula, Montana, when wildlife rehabilitator Sarah Chin first received the call that would change everything she thought she knew about interspecies relationships. The voice on the other end belonged to Marcus Rivera, a rancher whose German shepherds had made an extraordinary discovery 3 months earlier. Sarah had been working with injured raptors for over 15 years, but nothing had prepared her for what she found when she arrived at the Rivera Ranch. There, in the spacious backyard, a magnificent juvenile bald eagle named Liberty was playing fetch with 3 German shepherds named Thor, Odin, and Freya. The sight was so surreal that Sarah had to blink several times to ensure she wasn't hallucinating. Liberty had been found as a barely feathered eaglet, fallen from a nest during a violent spring storm. Marcus had discovered the tiny bird injured and hypothermic, with no sign of the parents or nest anywhere nearby. With the nearest wildlife rehabilitation center hours away and the eaglet's condition critical, Marcus had made the difficult decision to provide immediate care himself, planning to transport the bird once it was stable. What Marcus hadn't anticipated was how quickly his 3 German shepherds would adopt the orphaned eagle as one of their own. Thor, the eldest at 8 years old, had immediately taken on a protective role, gently carrying the eaglet in his mouth when it needed to be moved. Odin, the middle dog at 5 years old, became the playmate, engaging in gentle wrestling matches as Liberty grew stronger. Freya, the youngest at 3 years old, appointed herself as the grooming specialist, carefully preening Liberty's developing feathers with the same attention she gave to her own coat. As Sarah watched in amazement, Liberty demonstrated behaviors that were decidedly more canine than avian. When Marcus called the dogs for dinner, Liberty came running alongside them, her powerful talons clicking against the wooden deck. She had learned to sit on command, though her version involved settling back on her tail feathers in a distinctly eagle-like posture. Most remarkably, she had developed a bark-like vocalization that she used to communicate with her canine family, completely different from the typical eagle calls Sarah was accustomed to hearing. The eagle's physical development had proceeded normally despite her unusual upbringing. Her wingspan now measured an impressive 6 feet, her distinctive white head feathers were beginning to emerge, and her golden eyes held the fierce intelligence characteristic of her species. However, her behavioral patterns were a fascinating blend of eagle instincts and learned dog behaviors. Sarah spent the first week simply observing, documenting Liberty's unique behaviors and assessing her physical condition. The eagle was healthy, well-fed, and clearly bonded with her canine family. She roosted each night in a large oak tree but came down every morning to join the dogs for their daily routines. She had learned to drink from the water bowls, though she maintained her natural preference for tearing her food rather than eating kibble. The most remarkable behavior Sarah witnessed was Liberty's protective instincts toward the dogs. When a neighbor's aggressive rooster wandered onto the property and challenged Thor, Liberty immediately swooped down, spreading her massive wings and positioning herself between the rooster and her adopted brother. Her fierce eagle cry, mixed with her learned barking sounds, created an intimidating display that sent the rooster fleeing. Dr. Amanda Foster, an avian veterinarian who specialized in raptor behavior, arrived the following week to conduct a comprehensive evaluation. She had worked with imprinted birds before, but never one that had been raised by dogs. Her examination revealed that Liberty was in excellent physical health, with strong flight muscles and keen eyesight. However, the behavioral assessment raised important questions about the eagle's future. Liberty had clearly imprinted on dogs rather than eagles, viewing them as her family and species. This presented a complex challenge for wildlife rehabilitation. Traditional protocols would involve isolating the bird from human and domestic animal contact, then gradually reintroducing eagle behaviors through various techniques. However, Liberty's case was unprecedented in its complexity and the depth of her canine bonding. During Dr. Foster's visit, Liberty demonstrated her most dog-like behavior yet. When Freya became excited about a tennis ball, Liberty joined in the game, using her powerful beak to catch and return the ball. She had learned to play tug-of-war using a thick rope, her eagle strength providing quite a challenge for even the large German shepherds. Most surprisingly, she had developed a greeting ritual where she would gently nibble on the dog's ears, mimicking their own affectionate behavior. Sarah faced an ethical dilemma that challenged everything she had learned about wildlife rehabilitation. The standard approach would be to separate Liberty from the dogs immediately and begin a long process of reconditioning her natural behaviors. However, The eagle showed no signs of distress or abnormal development beyond her behavioral quirks. She was thriving physically and emotionally in her unique family structure. The decision became even more complex when Sarah observed Liberty's hunting behaviors. Despite her dog-like tendencies, her eagle instincts remained strong. She would spot fish in the nearby pond from remarkable distances, and her flight patterns showed the natural grace and power of her species. She had even begun catching small fish independently, though she often brought her catches back to share with the dogs rather than consuming them alone. Marcus Rivera had become deeply attached to Liberty and was reluctant to see her removed from the only family she had ever known. The dogs, too, showed signs of distress when separated from their feathered sister, even briefly. Thor would pace anxiously when Liberty was out of sight, while Odin would sit by the oak tree where she roosted, maintaining a protective vigil throughout the night. Sarah decided to consult with wildlife behaviorists across the country, seeking guidance on this unprecedented case. Dr. James Whitehorse, a renowned expert in avian psychology from Colorado, agreed to visit the ranch to observe Liberty firsthand. His assessment would be crucial in determining the best course of action for the eagle's future. When Dr. Whitehorse arrived, he spent 3 days in careful observation before reaching his conclusions. Liberty's case, he explained, represented a unique form of cross-species imprinting that had resulted in a stable, functional family unit. The eagle had retained her essential survival instincts while adapting to a social structure that provided emotional security and physical safety. The breakthrough moment came during Dr. Whitehorse's final day at the ranch. A wild bald eagle pair had been observed in the area, and their presence triggered a remarkable response in Liberty. For the first time since her rescue, she produced the distinctive eagle call of her species, her head tilted skyward as she watched the magnificent birds soar overhead. The dogs gathered around her, sensing her excitement and responding with gentle whines of encouragement. Liberty's reaction to the wild eagles revealed that her natural instincts remained intact beneath her learned behaviors. She watched them with intense focus, her posture shifting to the alert stance characteristic of her species. However, when the wild eagles moved on, she returned to her canine family without apparent distress, suggesting that while she recognized her own kind, she was content with her chosen family. This observation led to a revolutionary decision in Liberty's rehabilitation plan. Rather than forcing separation and traditional reconditioning, Sarah and Dr. Whitehorse developed a gradual exposure program that would allow Liberty to maintain her bond with the dogs while slowly reintroducing her to eagle behaviors and potentially other eagles. The program began with controlled flights in a large flight enclosure that Sarah had constructed on the property. Liberty initially showed reluctance to fly without her canine companions nearby, but gradually gained confidence as the dogs were positioned where she could see them during her exercises. Her flight skills proved to be naturally excellent, requiring minimal conditioning to reach full strength and agility. As weeks passed, Liberty began spending longer periods in flight, exploring the surrounding area while always returning to the ranch and her family. She developed a routine of morning flights followed by afternoon play sessions with the dogs. Her hunting skills improved dramatically, and she began catching fish and small prey with increasing frequency and success. The most significant breakthrough occurred 6 weeks into the program when Liberty encountered another injured eagle that Sarah was treating. The newcomer, a young golden eagle named Storm who had suffered a wing injury, initially showed fear and aggression toward both humans and the unusual sight of an eagle living with dogs. Liberty's response to Storm was remarkable. She approached the injured eagle with the same gentle, protective instincts she had learned from her canine family. Rather than displaying typical territorial behavior, she began sharing her food with Storm and positioning herself as a buffer between the frightened bird and any perceived threats. Her calm, nurturing behavior gradually helped Storm relax and accept treatment. The relationship between Liberty and Storm evolved over the following weeks, with Liberty essentially teaching the wild eagle that humans could be trusted. She demonstrated eating from human hands, allowing medical examinations, and even playing with toys, behaviors that Storm initially found bewildering but eventually began to mimic. Sarah realized that Liberty had become an invaluable ambassador for other rescued eagles. Her unique background had given her the ability to bridge the gap between wild instincts and human care, making her an ideal companion for traumatized or fearful birds undergoing rehabilitation. As Storm's wing healed and his confidence grew, the two eagles began spending more time together, flying in formation and hunting cooperatively. However, Liberty always returned to the ranch and her canine family, establishing a pattern that suggested she had found a way to honor both her eagle nature and her learned family bonds. The decision about Liberty's permanent future became clear as autumn approached. Rather than forcing her into a traditional release or keeping her in captivity, Sarah worked with Marcus to establish a unique arrangement. Liberty would remain free to come and go as she pleased, using the ranch as her home base while maintaining her ability to interact with wild eagles and participate in natural behaviors. This solution required special permits and ongoing monitoring, but the results exceeded everyone's expectations. Liberty thrived in her hybrid lifestyle, serving as a bridge between the wild and domestic worlds. She continued to play with the German shepherds, sleep in her oak tree, and participate in the daily routines of ranch life, while also developing relationships with wild eagles in the area. Her story attracted attention from wildlife behaviorists and researchers worldwide, leading to new understanding about the flexibility of avian social structures and the potential for cross-species relationships in wildlife rehabilitation. Liberty became the subject of several research papers and documentaries, helping to expand knowledge about eagle psychology and behavior. The most touching aspect of Liberty's story was the unwavering loyalty she showed to her canine family. Even as she developed relationships with other eagles and spent increasing time in flight, she never failed to return to the ranch each evening. The reunion scenes between Liberty and the 3 German shepherds became a daily highlight, with excited barking, gentle wing displays, and affectionate grooming sessions that demonstrated the deep bonds they had formed. Thor, now showing his age at 9 years old, had developed arthritis that limited his mobility. Liberty seemed to sense his discomfort and began spending extra time with the elderly dog, often perching nearby during his afternoon naps and gently preening his graying fur. When Thor struggled to keep up during walks, Liberty would fly short distances ahead and then return, as if encouraging him to continue at his own pace. Odin remained Liberty's primary playmate, and their games had evolved to accommodate both species' natural behaviors. They developed a unique form of tag where Odin would run in circles while Liberty flew overhead, occasionally swooping down to gently touch his back with her talons before soaring away. The game could continue for hours, with both animals showing obvious enjoyment and excitement. Freya's relationship with Liberty had deepened into something resembling sisterhood. The young German shepherd had learned to interpret Liberty's various vocalizations and body language, often serving as a translator between the eagle and the other dogs. When Liberty was agitated or excited, Freya would position herself nearby, providing a calming presence that helped regulate the eagle's emotions. As winter approached, Liberty faced her first major challenge in her hybrid lifestyle. Wild eagles in the region typically migrated south or adapted their hunting strategies for the harsh Montana winter. Liberty's situation was complicated by her attachment to the ranch and her canine family, creating uncertainty about how she would handle the seasonal changes. The solution emerged naturally as Liberty began modifying her behavior in response to the changing environment. She started caching food in various locations around the property, displaying the natural hoarding instincts of her species. However, she also began sharing these caches with the dogs during particularly harsh weather, demonstrating how her learned caring behaviors had integrated with her survival instincts. Sarah constructed a heated shelter near Liberty's roosting tree, providing a warm retreat during blizzards while maintaining the eagle's preference for outdoor living. Liberty used the shelter selectively, seeming to understand that it was available when needed but preferring to rely on her natural cold tolerance whenever possible. The winter months revealed new dimensions of Liberty's unique personality. She became more protective of the entire ranch during the harsh weather, patrolling the property boundaries and alerting Marcus to potential problems like damaged fencing or approaching wildlife. Her keen eyesight and elevated perspective made her an invaluable guardian for both the human and canine members of her family. During a particularly severe blizzard in January, Liberty's protective instincts were put to the ultimate test. Freya had wandered too far from the house during a brief break in the storm and became disoriented in the whiteout conditions. The young dog's distressed barking was barely audible over the howling wind, but Liberty heard her family members' calls for help. Without hesitation, Liberty launched herself into the dangerous storm conditions, using her superior vision and flight abilities to locate Freya. The eagle found the dog huddled against a fallen log nearly half a mile from the house, shivering and exhausted. Liberty's response was immediate and decisive. She landed beside Freya and spread her massive wings to create a windbreak, then began calling with her unique bark-like vocalizations to guide the rescue party. Marcus and the other dogs followed Liberty's calls through the storm, finding Freya safe but hypothermic under the eagle's protective wing coverage. The rescue demonstrated not only Liberty's loyalty to her family but also her ability to adapt her natural abilities to protect those she loved. The incident strengthened the bonds between all family members and proved that Liberty's unusual upbringing had created a truly functional interspecies family unit. As spring returned to Montana, Liberty's story took another remarkable turn. A pair of wild bald eagles established a territory near the ranch, and their presence created new opportunities for Liberty to interact with her own species. The wild eagles initially showed curiosity about Liberty's unusual living situation, observing from a distance as she played with the dogs and interacted with humans. Liberty's response to the wild eagles was complex and fascinating. She clearly recognized them as her own species and showed interest in their activities, often flying parallel to them during their hunting expeditions. However, she maintained her primary loyalty to the ranch and her canine family, returning each day to participate in their routines. The wild eagle pair, whom Sarah named Majesty and Freedom, gradually became more accepting of Liberty's presence. They seemed to understand that she posed no territorial threat and occasionally included her in their hunting activities. These interactions allowed Liberty to observe and learn traditional eagle behaviors while maintaining her unique family structure. One morning in late spring, Sarah witnessed an extraordinary scene that perfectly encapsulated Liberty's dual nature. The eagle was engaged in a complex play session that involved all members of her family, both canine and avian. She would fly overhead while the German shepherds ran below, occasionally diving down to touch one of them gently with her talons. When Majesty and Freedom appeared in the distance, Liberty called to them with traditional eagle vocalizations, inviting them to observe her unusual family dynamics. The wild eagles landed in a nearby tree and watched the interspecies play session with apparent fascination. Their presence didn't disrupt the activity. Instead, it seemed to add another layer of richness to Liberty's social experience. She was able to demonstrate her eagle nature to her wild cousins while sharing her canine family's joy and playfulness. This scene represented the culmination of Liberty's remarkable journey from orphaned eaglet to unique ambassador between species. She had successfully integrated her natural eagle instincts with learned canine behaviors, creating a lifestyle that honored both aspects of her identity. Her story challenged traditional assumptions about wildlife rehabilitation and demonstrated the remarkable adaptability of intelligent species when provided with love, security, and acceptance. Dr. Foster returned that spring to conduct a comprehensive evaluation of Liberty's development after nearly a year with her canine family. Her findings were groundbreaking for the field of wildlife rehabilitation. Liberty showed no signs of psychological distress or abnormal development. Her flight skills were excellent, her hunting abilities had developed naturally, and her social interactions with both dogs and eagles were healthy and appropriate. Most significantly, Liberty had developed what Dr. Foster termed behavioral bilingualism, the ability to switch between eagle and dog-like behaviors depending on the social context. When interacting with the German shepherds, she displayed learned behaviors like sitting on command and playing fetch. When with other eagles, she demonstrated natural raptor behaviors including territorial displays, hunting cooperation, and traditional vocalizations. The research implications of Liberty's case were profound. Her success challenged the rigid protocols of traditional wildlife rehabilitation and suggested that alternative approaches might be beneficial in certain circumstances. However, Dr. Foster emphasized that Liberty's case was unique and should not be considered a model for general application without careful consideration of individual circumstances. As summer progressed, Liberty's role as an ambassador expanded beyond her immediate family. Sarah began bringing other rescued eagles to the ranch for rehabilitation, and Liberty's presence proved invaluable in helping traumatized birds adjust to human care. Her calm demeanor and obvious contentment in the presence of humans helped fearful eagles understand that people could be trusted. One particularly challenging case involved a mature bald eagle named Warrior who had been shot by poachers and required extensive medical treatment. Warrior arrived at the ranch with deep psychological trauma in addition to his physical injuries. He refused to eat, showed extreme aggression toward humans, and displayed signs of severe depression. Liberty's intervention with Warrior demonstrated the full extent of her unique abilities. She approached the traumatized eagle with the same gentle, patient demeanor she had learned from her canine family. Rather than responding to Warrior's aggression with typical eagle territorial behavior, Liberty maintained a calm, non-threatening presence that gradually helped the injured bird relax. Over several weeks, Liberty essentially mentored Warrior through his recovery process. She demonstrated eating from human hands, accepting medical treatment, and even playing with enrichment toys. Her patient guidance helped Warrior overcome his fear and trauma, eventually leading to his successful rehabilitation and release. The success with Warrior led to Liberty being formally recognized as a therapy eagle, one of the first of her kind. Her unique background and gentle nature made her an ideal companion for other rescued raptors, and her presence at the ranch became an integral part of Sarah's rehabilitation program. As autumn returned, Liberty faced another milestone in her remarkable journey. Thor, her eldest canine brother, had been diagnosed with cancer and was nearing the end of his life. The elderly German Shepherd had been Liberty's first protector and teacher, and their bond had remained strong throughout her development. Liberty seemed to sense Thor's declining health and began spending most of her time near the aging dog. She would perch on a low branch of her oak tree where she could watch over him, occasionally gliding down to gently preen his fur or simply sit beside him in companionable silence. Her vigil demonstrated the depth of her emotional attachment and her understanding of the situation. When Thor passed peacefully on a crisp October morning, Liberty's grief was profound and visible. She called continuously for 3 days, using both her eagle vocalizations and her learned barking sounds as if trying to summon her lost family member. The other dogs mourned as well, but Liberty's response was particularly intense, reflecting the unique bond she had formed with her first protector. Sarah was concerned about how Liberty would handle the loss, but the eagle's resilience proved remarkable. After her initial period of grief, Liberty seemed to transfer some of her protective instincts to the remaining dogs, particularly focusing on aging Odin and young Freya. Her ability to process loss and adapt to change demonstrated the emotional intelligence that had made her such an effective therapy eagle. The loss of Thor also marked a new phase in Liberty's relationship with the wild eagles in the area. Majesty and Freedom had successfully raised a clutch of eaglets that summer, and their offspring were now learning to hunt and fly independently. Liberty began spending more time with this extended eagle family, serving as an additional mentor and protector for the young birds. Her interactions with the wild eaglets were particularly fascinating to observe. Liberty demonstrated the same patient, nurturing behavior she had learned from her canine family, helping the young eagles develop their hunting skills and confidence. However, she also displayed natural eagle teaching behaviors, suggesting that her maternal instincts had developed normally despite her unusual upbringing. As winter approached for the second time since her rescue, Liberty had established herself as a permanent bridge between the domestic and wild worlds. Her daily routine included morning flights with the wild eagles, afternoon play sessions with Odin and Freya, and evening perching sessions where she watched over the entire ranch property. The ranch had become a unique sanctuary where wild and domestic animals coexisted peacefully under Liberty's watchful presence. Her story had attracted visitors from around the world, including researchers, wildlife enthusiasts, and other rehabilitators seeking to understand her remarkable adaptation. Marcus Rivera had embraced his role as Liberty's human family member, modifying his ranch operations to accommodate her needs and the steady stream of researchers and visitors. He had become an advocate for alternative rehabilitation approaches and frequently spoke at wildlife conferences about Liberty's success. Sarah's rehabilitation program had expanded significantly, with Liberty serving as the cornerstone of her Therapy Eagle program. The ranch now housed multiple flight enclosures and specialized facilities for treating traumatized raptors, with Liberty's presence providing comfort and guidance for each new arrival. As Liberty approached her second birthday, her physical development had reached full maturity. Her wingspan now measured an impressive 7 feet, her distinctive white head feathers gleamed in the sunlight, and her golden eyes held the wisdom of her unique experiences. She had grown into a magnificent example of her species while maintaining the gentle, nurturing personality shaped by her canine upbringing. The most remarkable aspect of Liberty's ongoing story was her continued ability to surprise everyone with new behaviors and adaptations. She had recently begun teaching Freya basic hunting techniques, patiently demonstrating how to spot and stalk small prey. While the German Shepherd would never be an effective hunter, the lessons seemed to strengthen their bond and provide mental stimulation for both animals. Liberty had also developed a unique relationship with the ranch's other animals, including horses, cattle, and chickens. Rather than viewing them as potential prey or territorial competitors, she had learned to see them as extended family members deserving of protection and care. Her presence had actually reduced predation on the ranch, as her territorial patrols discouraged other raptors and predators from hunting in the area. The scientific community continued to study Liberty's case, with new research papers published regularly documenting various aspects of her behavior and development. Her story had contributed to a better understanding of avian intelligence, social flexibility, and the potential for cross-species relationships in wildlife management. Dr. Whitehorse returned to the ranch that winter to conduct a comprehensive 2-year evaluation of Liberty's progress. His findings confirmed that she had successfully integrated her dual nature into a stable, healthy lifestyle that benefited both her individual well-being and the broader wildlife community. Most importantly, Liberty remained happy, healthy, and emotionally fulfilled in her unique family structure. She had found a way to honor both her eagle heritage and her learned canine behaviors, creating a lifestyle that was authentically her own. Her story demonstrated that love, acceptance, and understanding could transcend species boundaries and create extraordinary possibilities for healing and growth. As the Montana winter settled over the ranch, Liberty could be found each evening perched in her oak tree, watching over her family with the fierce protectiveness of an eagle and the gentle devotion of a dog. Her remarkable journey from orphaned eaglet to therapy eagle had touched countless lives and challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife rehabilitation and interspecies relationships. Liberty's story continued to unfold each day, with new adventures, challenges, and discoveries that added to her extraordinary legacy. She had proven that sometimes the most unconventional approaches could yield the most remarkable results, and that love truly knew no boundaries between species. Her presence at the ranch served as a daily reminder that with patience, understanding, and acceptance, even the most unlikely families could thrive and flourish together. The eagle who thought she was a dog had become something far more remarkable, a living bridge between worlds, a healer of hearts, and a testament to the transformative power of unconditional love. Her story would continue to inspire and educate for years to come, proving that sometimes the most beautiful outcomes emerge from the most unexpected beginnings.